The Simpsons, restless and itching for adventure, decided it was time for a break from the monotony of Springfield. Marge, ever the planner, suggested an exotic getaway to Morocco, a place she'd read about in a travel magazine at the Quick E-Mart. Homer, initially skeptical, was sold when Bart mentioned the possibility of exotic donuts, and Lisa was thrilled at the prospect of exploring ancient cultures. Even Maggie, clutching her pacifier, seemed to nod in approval. So with their bags packed and Mr. Burns begrudgingly granting Homer a week off, the family boarded a rickety plane to Marrakesh. The Moroccan market was a sensory overload, a labyrinth of vibrant stalls spilling over with spices, textiles, and trinkets. The air was thick with the scent of cumin and the clamor of vendors haggling in Arabic. Bart darted through the crowd, eyeing a stall selling what he hoped were prank-worthy scorpions, while Lisa lingered at a booth displaying intricate Berber jewelry, scribbling notes for her future anthropology blog. Marge, clutching Maggie, tried to keep everyone together, but Homer had already wandered off, drawn to a dimly lit stall at the market's edge. The stall was unlike the others, shrouded in shadow despite the blazing sun. Its wares were an odd assortment: cracked pottery, tarnished amulets, and what looked like a shrunken head dangling from a hook. Behind the counter stood a gaunt man with eyes like black pits, his voice a low rasp as he beckoned Homer closer. "You seek something special, yes?" he said, holding up a gnarled, leathery object, a monkey's paw, its fingers curled as if clutching an invisible weight. "This grants wishes, but beware. Every desire comes with a price." Homer, barely listening, chuckled. "A wish-granting paw? Sounds like something out of a comic book. How much?" The man's expression didn't change as he named a price. $10. Homer, thinking it a steal, handed over the cash, ignoring the man's final warning. "Once you take it, it binds to you." Back in Springfield, the family settled into their usual chaos, the Morocco trip already fading into a blur of jet lag and unpacked suitcases. The monkey's paw sat forgotten on Homer's dresser until Bart, rummaging through his dad's stuff for anything worth selling at school, stumbled upon it. The paw was grotesque, its texture like dried skin, and yet it hummed with an eerie warmth. Bart's eyes lit up. "Wishes, huh? This is gonna be awesome." He ran downstairs, waving the paw like a trophy, and gathered the family in the living room. Marge was skeptical. Lisa scoffed at the superstition, but Homer, still proud of his bargain, egged Bart on. "Go for it, boy. Wish for something big." Bart didn't hesitate. "I wish for infinite wealth," he declared, holding the paw aloft. The room fell silent, the air growing heavy. For a moment nothing happened. Then, with a faint rustle, a single dollar bill drifted from the ceiling, landing at Bart's feet. The family stared, dumbfounded. "A buck? That's it?" Bart groaned, kicking the dollar across the room. Homer laughed it off, calling it a lame magic trick, but Marge's unease was palpable. "Maybe we shouldn't mess with that thing," she said, but her words were drowned out by Bart's complaints. The next morning, Springfield felt different. The news reported a sudden stock market crash, with local businesses hit hardest. Moe's Tavern was boarded up, the comic book guy was seen selling his rarest issues for pennies, and even Mr. Burns was spotted muttering about budget cuts. By noon, the Quickie Mart had run out of squishies, and Apu was in tears. Whispers spread that the town's misfortune started with the Simpsons' return from Morocco. A crowd gathered outside 742 Evergreen Terrace, led by an irate Lenny and Carl, demanding answers. "What did you bring back, Homer?" Lenny shouted, brandishing a pitchfork he'd borrowed from Cletus. Marge tried to calm them, but the mob's anger only grew, fueled by the inexplicable collapse of their livelihoods. Inside, Lisa researched the monkey's paw, her laptop screen glowing with tales of cursed artifacts. "This isn't just a myth," she said, her voice trembling. "Every story about these things ends in disaster." Bart, still clutching the dollar, scoffed. "It's just a dumb paw. Maybe I didn't wish hard enough." But as he spoke, the dollar in his hand seemed to pulse, its edges fraying as if decaying. Homer, oblivious, grabbed a duff from the fridge, muttering about how the town was overreacting. Yet even he couldn't ignore the chill that settled over the house, the way the shadows seemed to writhe in the corners. By nightfall, the mob had dispersed, but Springfield was a ghost town. Streetlights flickered, and the usual hum of activity was gone. The Simpsons sat in their living room, the monkey's paw on the coffee table like an unwelcome guest. Marge suggested throwing it out, but Homer hesitated, his greed whispering that there might be more to gain. Bart, meanwhile, was already plotting his next wish, undeterred by the chaos. Lisa, flipping through her notes, found a reference to a curse that grows stronger with each wish, binding the user to an inescapable fate. She tried to warn the others, but her words were cut off by a distant scream. Someone or something. Outside, as the family peered through the curtains, they saw Springfield's skyline dimming, the stars above unnaturally bright, as if the town was being erased from existence. The monkey's paw, still on the table, seemed to twitch, its fingers uncurling slightly. The Simpsons exchanged uneasy glances, realizing too late that their troubles were only beginning. Springfield was a shadow of itself, its streets empty and its skies unnaturally dark, as if the town was sinking into a void. The Simpsons huddled in their living room, the cursed monkey's paw still squatting on the coffee table, its leathery fingers seeming to mock their growing dread. The single dollar from Bart's wish lay crumpled nearby, its edges blackened as if scorched. Lisa's warnings about the paw's malevolent nature echoed in Marge's mind, but Homer, nursing a warm duff, was already itching to salvage the situation. "One lousy buck doesn't mean the thing's broken," he grumbled. "We just need to wish smarter." Bart, sulking on the couch, was less optimistic. The mob from the previous night had left tire tracks on the lawn, and Milhouse had texted him a blurry photo of Springfield's bank, now shuttered with a sign reading "Closed forever." Still, the paw's allure was too strong. "Maybe I should wish for something else," Bart muttered, but Marge snapped, "No more wishes, Bart. This thing's dangerous." Her voice trembled, and Maggie, sensing the tension, clung tighter to her pacifier. Lisa, hunched over her laptop, was deep in a forum about cursed artifacts, her face pale. "Every account says the same thing," she said. "The paw twists your desires. We need to destroy it." Homer, ignoring her, grabbed the paw, his stomach growling louder than his common sense. "I'm not letting this creepy hand ruin my day. I wish for a perfect sandwich." The words tumbled out before Marge could stop him. The air thickened, a faint hum vibrating through the room. A sandwich materialized on the table, pristine on a plate. Golden bread, crisp lettuce, and layers of meat glistening under the dim light. Homer's eyes widened. "Now that's more like it!" He lunged forward, oblivious to the faint rancid odor wafting from the plate. The first bite was heaven, until it wasn't. Homer's face contorted as a metallic, sour taste flooded his mouth. He spat out a chunk, gagging, and saw the meat wriggling, its texture disturbingly soft. "What the?" he stammered, prying open the sandwich. The meat was a grotesque amalgam, pulsating with tiny veins, unmistakably human in origin. Marge screamed, pulling Maggie away, while Bart retched into a couch cushion. Lisa, frozen, whispered, "The paw. It's literal. It gave you what you asked for, but..." Homer dropped the sandwich, which landed with a wet thud, oozing a dark liquid that stained the floor. Within minutes, Homer's skin began to change. His face grew ashen, his eyes sank into hollow sockets, and his fingers twitched unnaturally. "What's happening to me?" he croaked, his voice now a guttural rasp. His reflection in the TV screen showed a monstrous caricature. His familiar paunch was there, but his flesh seemed to sag, as if something inside was gnawing its way out. Bart backed away, clutching the dollar which now felt hot in his hand. "Dad, you look like something from Krusty's Halloween special," he yelped, but there was no humor in it. Lisa, fighting panic, took charge. "We have to undo this. The paw's still active. Maybe a wish can fix it." She grabbed the paw, her hands shaking, and closed her eyes. "I wish for world peace," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. The paw pulsed, and for a fleeting moment, the world seemed to shift. The TV, which had been looping news of Springfield's economic collapse, switched to reports of global ceasefires. Wars ended, borders opened, and even Springfield's mob dispersed, their anger replaced by an eerie calm. Marge exhaled, daring to hope. "Lisa, you did it," she whispered. But the peace was a lie. That night the sky erupted in green light. Massive ships, sleek and menacing, descended over Springfield, their shadows swallowing the town. Kang and Kodos, the drooling aliens from countless Treehouse of Horror specials, appeared on every screen, their voices booming. "Earthlings, your lack of conflict has made you ripe for conquest. Surrender to your new overlords." Springfield's streets filled with screams as citizens were rounded up, their newfound pacifism rendering them defenseless. The power plant, now a glowing hub for the alien operation, hummed with otherworldly energy. The Simpsons barricaded themselves in their home, Homer's condition worsening. His skin was now mottled, his movements jerky, and he muttered incoherently about the taste still lingering. Bart, clutching the paw, suggested wishing. The aliens away, but Lisa slapped it from his hand. "Don't you get it? Every wish makes it worse," she yelled. Marge, cradling Maggie, noticed the dollar on the floor. It was disintegrating, leaving behind a faint, ashy residue that smelled of sulfur. Outside, Kang's voice echoed, demanding the source of Earth's submission, as if the aliens sensed the paw's power. Desperate, Homer, in a rare moment of clarity, staggered to his feet. "I'll get rid of it," he rasped, his voice barely human. He grabbed the paw and stumbled to the backyard, tossing it into the trash can with a clumsy swing. The lid slammed shut, and for a moment the family felt a flicker of relief. But as they watched from the window, the trash can rattled, the paw's faint glow visible through the cracks. The alien ships loomed closer, their searchlights sweeping Evergreen Terrace. Lisa's research had warned of the paw's persistence. It wouldn't be discarded so easily. And somewhere in the darkness, Ned Flanders, ever the good neighbor, was already eyeing the strange object in the Simpsons' trash, unaware of the horror he was about to unleash. The Simpsons' house was a fortress of fear, its windows boarded up against the alien invasion that had turned Springfield into a dystopian nightmare. Kang and Kodos' ships hovered overhead, their searchlights cutting through the night while the streets echoed with the clatter of robotic enforcers herding citizens into glowing containment pods. Inside, the family was fraying. Homer, now a grotesque shadow of himself, slumped in the corner, his skin a patchwork of gray scales, his eyes glinting with something not quite human. The taste of the cursed sandwich lingered in his rasping breaths, and he muttered about chewing shadows. Marge clutched Maggie, her hair frazzled while Bart paced, kicking the ashy remains of the dollar that had sparked this chaos. Lisa, her laptop dead from the aliens' EMP blasts, clutched her notes, her mind racing for a way to end the curse of the monkey's paw. "We can't stay here," Lisa whispered, glancing at the ceiling as a ship's hum rattled the walls. "The aliens know the paw's nearby. They're looking for it." Bart, defiance masking his terror, snapped. "Then let's give it to them. Let Kang and Kodos deal with this stupid thing." Marge shook her head, her voice trembling. "No. Bart, that paw's evil. We can't let anyone else have it." Homer, stirring, growled, "I threw it out. It's gone." But his words lacked conviction, and the family knew the truth. The paw wasn't done with them. Outside, Springfield was unrecognizable. The power plant glowed an eerie green, a hub for the aliens' operations, while Moe's Tavern and the Quickie Mart were reduced to rubble. The citizens, stripped of their will by Lisa's wish for peace, shuffled in orderly lines, their eyes vacant. Yet the paw's influence lingered, a malevolent pulse that seemed to draw the aliens closer. Lisa's research had warned that the curse grew stronger with each wish, binding its users to a cycle of torment. Throwing it away, she feared, had only delayed the inevitable. Homer, driven by a flicker of his old stubbornness, staggered to his feet. "I'll fix this," he slurred, his voice a guttural mix of pain and determination. Despite his monstrous form, he lumbered toward the backyard, the family trailing him. The trash can stood where he'd left it, but it was unnaturally still, the paw's glow gone. For a moment hope flickered until a cheerful whistle cut through the silence. Ned Flanders, clad in his usual green sweater, was rummaging through the Simpsons' trash, holding the paw aloft. "Well, I diddly ho, neighbors. Found this odd little thing, looks like a craft project." Marge lunged forward, shouting, "Ned, don't touch it," but it was too late. Ned, ever optimistic, smiled. "Oh, Marge, it's just a trinket. I'll spruce up my garden with a wish or two." Before anyone could stop him, he clasped the paw and said, "I wish for a perfect garden." The air shimmered and Ned's yard transformed. Lush flowers bloomed, vines curled into perfect spirals, and the grass gleamed like emerald glass. Ned beamed, oblivious to the faint predatory rustle from the plants. "Now that's what I call divine landscaping," he chirped, heading inside. The Simpsons watched in horror as the garden came alive. Vines slithered like snakes, snapping at a passing squirrel, which vanished with a squeak. Petals opened to reveal jagged, toothy maws, and the air filled with a sickly, sweet stench. Bart, wide-eyed, muttered, "That's no garden. That's a freaking monster buffet." Lisa grabbed his arm. "We have to get the paw back before Ned makes another wish." But as they approached Ned's house, the garden attacked, vines lashing out, forcing them back. Homer, his mutated strength surging, tore through a tendril, but it regrew instantly, oozing a black sap that burned the ground. Inside, Ned was already at it again. Inspired by the aliens' takeover and Springfield's fractured community, he held the paw and wished, "I want our town to be more united." The paw pulsed, and a wave of energy rippled through Springfield. At first, it seemed benign. Neighbors emerged from hiding, smiling, holding hands, but their movements were synchronized, their voices blending into a monotone hum. Their eyes glowed faintly, linked by an unseen force. Lisa gasped. "It's a hive mind." The paws turned them into something else. The united Springfield turned toward the Simpsons, their faces eerily blank. "Join us," they chanted, advancing. Homer roared, swinging a mailbox to keep them at bay, while Marge scooped up Maggie and ran. Bart, spotting Ned through his window, still clutching the paw, yelled, "We gotta get that thing." The family fought through the garden's thrashing vines, Homer's monstrous form absorbing blows that would have felled a normal man. They burst into Ned's house, where he stood, confused but smiling. "What's the ruckus, folks? Just bringing folks together." Lisa tackled him, prying the paw from his hands. "Ned, you don't understand. This thing's cursed." Ned blinked, finally noticing the chaos outside. "Gosh, did I do that?" Before he could apologize, a searchlight pierced the house, and Kang's voice boomed, "The artifact is here. Seize it." Alien drones crashed through the walls, their tentacles snatching at the paw. In the chaos, Lisa tossed it to Bart, who fumbled it onto the floor. Homer, with a guttural scream, grabbed it and ran, leading the drones away. The family regrouped in the garage, the paw back in their hands, but the situation dire. Lisa suggested burning it, and Marge, desperate, lit a match. They tossed the paw into a metal bucket, flames licking its surface.